Okay, I've got everything going. So let me show you a few things. I fly, as some of you know, with the advanced flight model turned on. I've got that in my description, the people I play with in Arma. Oh, let me mute myself because I'm watching the stream as well. Got everything going. There we go. So if you didn't know, Arma has multiple flight models, specifically there might be others that you can download, but these are the ones I'm familiar with. The standard flight model is what almost everybody flies with. And I'll show you what that looks like. So that you can think of like modeling the aircraft kind of like a rocket with a wing. So if you come up on it, just go straight up. There's no torque. No adverse pitching or rolling moments. If you yaw, that's stable. And it basically trims itself. You just come up on the collective, pitch it forward, and the thing flies itself. I'm hands off right now. I'm not touching any of the controls. The model that I fly with doesn't fly like this. Instead, I have to worry about things like yaw, I have to worry about things like torque, and aerodynamics are a little bit more challenging for me to deal with. So right now, I'll show you a typical sort of landing somebody might do. Somebody just might come in all steep like this, try to kill all their horizontal airspeed, and just come straight down. When I have the advanced flight model on, I can't do this. And I'll show you why in just a minute, but it's for a complicated aerodynamic phenomenon. So I could fly like this on the server if I chose to. But me, I like to challenge myself, and I want to fly real helicopters someday. And so to learn that and train up for that, maybe learn some bad habits along the way, I turn the advanced flight model on. On the server, I might turn auto trim on just to make people a little bit more comfortable, and I'll show you that in a minute as well. But wind effect, I keep that on. Rough landings, so I usually keep that on when I'm on the server so that I can touch down a little bit harder. So that enables me to slam it onto the deck a little bit harder without taking too much damage. And you guys will appreciate that. Stress damage, that punishes us if I fly the helicopter too hard. So I think somebody saw me break the mast off one time. It was a delay in the controls when it bucked up when I tried to pull back on the collective a little bit, or on the stick lick. Anyways, this is what it looks like when you have to deal with torque, and everything's basically as hard as it can be. So I come up about 50%. Look at the dials, look at the gauges that you see on the screen now. Look at that fourth gauge, I'll put that on the, is that an altimeter or barometer, something. I'll put the compass. Boom, so the gauge, the overlaid gauge that I want you to look at is on the compass right now. If you look, there's a line that I can bring up and down with this lever right here. This is a collective that controls your up and down in the helicopter. When I come up on that, that's gonna apply some resistance to the rotor and force the engine to give it more power. That's gonna force the helicopter to twist in the opposite direction. That gives you some torque. So when I come up about this, you notice the nose kind of comes to the right. And that's torque. And the way I combat that is with a little bit left yaw, a little bit left pedal. So when I come up, give a little left pedal, keep it stable in the pitch and roll, and just come up gently, right? So it's a living, breathing machine. It's moving air around it. This is how a real helicopter would fly. I have to watch my altitude as well. That's why that gauge is really handy. I'm checking that a lot. So I can come straight up as long as my power permits. No problem, right? So if you look in the top left, there's a gauge that just turned red, yellow, clear. That's the torque. That's the amount of power the engine can output and how much demand we're putting on it. When it's in the red, we're overloading it. So the engine can't keep up with the load that's on the rotor. We don't want that. We want the rotor to be balanced with the engine. And as long as that balance is met, we can continue to climb. It just might not be as fast as you're used to. We also have to keep the rotor, if you look in the middle, there's a gauge that says 0.91 Gs. We have to keep our G's in the positive. If we go negative, or we flip the rotor disc around too violently, we can mast bump or separate the mast altogether, which is death. That'll kill you. That's the rotor separating from the mast. And yeah, then you're actually a brick falling to the ground. So if you notice, my nose is pointed here, my heading is there. That's the passive stability you get when flying through the air. I could yaw it to the left, but that's more work for me to do. Instead, I can let what little torque there is naturally balance out with the aerodynamics of the helicopter. It's a little askew, but it still flies straight. I'm still visually tracking where we're going using the heading alignment circle to tell where we're at. Start coming down now, bringing it back to base. And I'll show you what a normal landing with this flight model would look like and explain why I would do it that way. So I'm going to come in a little lower than you might be used to. Oh, you guys do kind of fly low. But the reason you don't want to come in too steep is because as you slow down, you start to have more and more of the air you disturbed surround your aircraft. And if you get too far into your own disturbed air and you start coming down too fast, you can develop what's called vortex ring state. And what vortex ring state does is circulate the air your rotor pushed down back around onto itself. And what that generates is an effect where the air you push down pushes you down. And that generates a feedback loop. So the harder you pull up on your collective, the faster you sink. It's very deadly. It kills pilots. Want to come in kind of shallow, not too steep, maintaining forward airspeed. So you see I'm staying above the 30 kilometers an hour. So that's called effective translational lift. That means we're staying in fresh, undisturbed air constantly as we come down. And then as we really slow down, I have to give it more power as we settle into our own rotor wash and maintain a hover. So I might come down slowly like that, pick a landing site, kind of taxi it over. Do any sort of final alignments I need to do. And we're flying it the whole way. We're never going to just set it out of the sky. I'm going to walk it over to the left a little bit. I'm just going to fly it down. And I mean fly. We want this thing to stay stable the whole time or we could flip. Most of the accidents that happen with helicopters happen on the ground. Right there, that very last little bit where we're touching the skids down. That's the critical moment. That's where everything could go wrong. The entire flight could have gone perfectly. That right there is what kills most pilots. So now I'll show you what happens if I try to come down too quickly and we enter vortex ring state. So if we settle with power into our own rotor wash and we generate that vortex ring, no matter how much we come up on the collective, we're going to be sinking. It's not recoverable. The only way to recover it is by using the cyclic to translate forward, back, or to the side out of that column of air. You do that so you enter fresh air, re-establish lift, and yeah, that's the same reason why we were constantly moving forward as we were landing. So let's say I wanted to land it like you traditionally might, fly over the point. Kill your airspeed. Just come all the way down on the collective and just sink to the point, right? So we come straight down like this. You see how it got all choppy? If I come up on the collective, keep sinking, and we're dead. That's what happens. With the model I have on, I cannot come straight down that fast. Sometimes when I have to land in a limited space environment, I'll come straight down, but it'll be very slow. So there's an equation you have to learn as a pilot. You have to kind of know it intuitively. It has to do with the mass of the helicopter, the size of the rotor disc, and your vertical airspeed. And you're constantly keeping your disturbed air below you and not sinking into it. If you do that, you can stay out of vortex ring state and come straight down safely. So there's a hospital just down the road from me, and they do exactly that when they land on the helipads up there, because they don't have a lot of space to move around. They can't translate in. They have to come straight down onto it. And it takes them like 4 or 5 minutes just to come the 100 or so feet straight down. So I'll keep the advanced flight model on, and I'll show you a landing just like that. And I'll turn auto hover on, because if you're flying the advanced flight model, auto hover is your friend when doing that sort of stuff. Because it's very easy to lose track of it and start sliding one way or another too quickly. Pilot-induced oscillations. Also another thing that kills a lot of pilots. I'm trying to train myself out of it though. It takes time doing exactly what I'm doing right here. Just get into the single player. And fly helicopters. The only way to get better is to fly helicopters. I encourage you, if you haven't done it yet, give this a go. And yeah, see what you think of it. So the little bird I'm used to. Flown the crap out of this one. Let's say we're coming into land, and we have a limited space environment. We need to land vertically. So let's say that little helipad over there with all the trucks around it. Let's say we can't translate in from this side either. We have to come straight down onto it, more or less. So I'm gonna come above it, kill our airspeed, and I'm watching my vertical speed. I'm making sure we don't come straight down as we come to zero airspeed. So I'm keeping us in the positive always. Now I'm gonna set it in the auto hover. I'm gonna make sure we're oriented the right way. And actually pull us back some so we can see. Now I'm gonna allow our vertical speed to start coming down just a little bit. Now I'm just gonna set it right below zero. So if I start going down too fast, we'll settle into our own rotor wash, and we'll have to do a Bouchard recovery to save it. When we're landing, we don't want to have to do that. Heading alignment circle, I'll just keep that right on the helipad. Yeah. Auto hover also keeps our nose stable. When you're using the tail rotor, remember, that's a propeller that's mounted sideways. It generates thrust, so when you use it, you're going to translate around. You have to account for that. Either have altitude or adjust with the cyclic. So if you guys see me land really slow, it's to avoid getting into our own rotor wash and to keep us from dying. One of the saving graces, look at that. I didn't have to touch my collective at all. Watch, we're just going to bounce off a cushion of air here. Come down a little, not touching anything. Get kind of close to the ground. And we kind of bounce off of it. That's ground effect. You don't get that with the standard flight model. And it's a saving grace for stuff like this. I can use this to taxi around. I can use this to keep us off of a surface that isn't safe to land on. So I could, hover here, drop troops off by rappelling. Or just jump out, we're low enough you can step out onto the ground. As well, I could also set a skid onto a surface to kind of anchor us. It's a little risky though. If we become unstable, I've got to come back up. So I could, for example, set just the right skid on top of this truck. And that's a good way to, say, recover somebody from the top of a vehicle or a building. So there's funky physics regarding the airflow when you're around surfaces of different heights. You have to be cautious. Oh, that was touching something. So that sort of stuff will be to a minimal on the server. I don't think we'll really need that. But, oh yeah, so YouTube. If anybody on YouTube's confused what I mean by that, I'm playing on a server with a bunch of guys. This is more so for them, but for anybody that's interested as well, anybody on YouTube that's just watching, it's like, what's the difference between those flight models? Here you go. Those are the differences. So I keep it a little bit complicated, but there's reasons for it. There's method to the madness. And if I don't do anything out of my comfort zone, I'm not going to crash. So the Little Bird, I know you guys fly the MD-500 on the YLS server. It's more or less this helicopter without all the firepower. And without the olive drab paint. But it's the same helicopter. This and the Comanche are probably my go-to. So I can also do a run-on into ground effect. For example, come around, bring us this way. And it's a sort of landing, but without touching the ground. So I keep us right above the ground. Using that run-on landing, so where we land with speed. But then I keep us hovering over the ground. So now we can taxi around, don't touch the ground. Another benefit of staying low to the ground like this, one of the benefits of using the advanced flight model, is you can stay below tree line. This tall grass we have on the right, you can stay below all that. So we're visually obscured, but we're not touching the ground. So I can more or less treat this like a soldier with 4 people on it. Some of the guys might be able to shoot, you can spot stuff, you can hover around, move around as if you're on foot. Peek a corner, maybe come back. And in particular, because this is the attack variant, I have guns. So I can do all that with the guns as well. now I'm a proper soldier. So I can peek corners. Sometimes if I'm moving quick, I might have to do some manipulation with the collective. But over time it becomes intuitive. Oh! A little too hardy with that one, huh? So I'll show you. I can fly with the regular flight dynamics. Do some of that. So what do I mean by it being like a rocket with a wing? So imagine instead of the rotor, the helicopter has a rocket in the bottom pointed straight at the ground. When it fires that rocket full power, the helicopter goes straight up. But when you're translating, you also get lift just by moving through the air. So the standard flight dynamics also kind of model that. So let's go fly this mission for close air support. and that's the other thing I can do with this that I can't do with the advanced flight model. Is fly like that. Y'all get what I mean? Alright. There you go, I can also auto-rotate it. That's what I get for showing off. Let me see if there's anybody watching. Alright, I'm going to turn the advanced flight model back on. So I'll turn auto trim back on so you can see the flight dynamics are still a little weird, but the helicopter trims itself, which makes it a little easier to fly. Wasn't paying attention. Fuck me. I want to fly a different helicopter anyways. So everything except auto trim enabled. So here, this is what it looks like taking off. Kind of keep it there. Taxi to the runway, and I'll do a translating takeoff. When you're doing this, you want to keep the gear down. So if you look at our altitude gauge, which is the second gauge from the left, the floating heads up, that's our altitude. And when that needle gets out of the yellow, that's when you can let the gear up. It's about 100 meters, or about 300 feet. Just by letting it translate forward. Build up speed, it'll start generating more lift. So heading alignment circle, start climbing. Push it down to gain more airspeed. So when it becomes stable, I can let the nose go. Gain airspeed, start gaining altitude. It's one of our drones. Come up on the gear now. This helicopter is really stable on its own. Not touching the controls. Just wants to kind of cruise at about this speed, this altitude. The altitude kind of changes, but it kind of settles if you set the collective just at hover and fly out of it. This is about where it ends up. Which is good. You can actually use this right here without touching the collective. You can go fly the whole mission basically. Trade altitude for airspeed, airspeed for altitude. And if you fly it right at the horizon, you can gain a little bit of both. And that's enough. See, so like right here, if I put that heading alignment circle right above the horizon, we gain both airspeed and altitude. It's just neither builds particularly quickly. Run-on landing. It's not bad for realistic. If I just come straight up, this is what it looks like. So the Comanche is pretty stable. It has a sensitive tail rotor though. If you go ham on the tail rotor, you can break it pretty easy. You do big adjustments to the tail rotor like I have now. I'm full left. You have to do them smoothly. See, so I'm all the way on that left pedal. Come off of it, come off smoothly. Something on this pad. Guess I can't land there. One, it's a pretty heavy helicopter, so if we come in too steep, we get into vortex ring state pretty quick. And because it's so heavy, vortex ring state happens at a higher speed. So you can stabilize in a vortex ring state, and there's a certain descent rate that you'll maintain, more or less. And depending on the weight of the helicopter, the size of the rotor disc, you know, how much it's loaded, how light it's loaded, it'll sink faster or slower in that state. For this one, it should be pretty quick. Here we go. On it, no amount of me trying to fight it's gonna save this. Right? Coming up on it, coming up on it, coming up on it. We're still sinking, we're still sinking, we're still sinking, right? Oh, just saved it in the nick of time. So it's possible to save, but look at how much altitude we lost to do that. That's why you really don't want to come straight down. You've got advanced flight dynamics turned on. You come in, come at a you can come in about 45, but I would really come in much steeper than that. Also sometimes come in sideways because I get better visibility. To the ghost hawk. So I'll show the different flight dynamics for this one too. Show what you guys are used to. Then I'll show you what I fly with. I had one takeoff where I had stuff bound incorrectly, and it was ugly. It was real ugly. I was basically sideways going straight up in a spiral the whole way. But I had it under control after a second. Yeah, no warfare. I'm just flying for demonstration. I don't see helicopters. Oh, that's right. This one's bugged. The Huron, so like basically the Chinook, anything with a tandem rotor, they're super stable in hover. But when you start taking them forward in advanced flight, they're we'll say they're kind of weird. They behave in strange ways. Ghost talk. There we go. That's the correct one. Yeah, give me 1 second. Sorry about that. That's all from the specific scenario that I have downloaded that I'm playing. It's nothing. It's never any serious concern. It's like minor power loss or perhaps a fuel leak or something. I can just fly back to base and get repaired and that fixes it. No. There's our downed pilot. Landing on a hill, you want to land up the hill. Position myself just like this. I had it for a second. Here we go. That feels good. Wheel brake. We got gunners, right? Yeah, we got gunners. So like right there, that might sketch somebody out, but that's the effect of using yaw to get away. So I gave it some left pedal, and that caused it to roll to the right. So rather than being freaked out by that, I flew through it and used it to get us out of there. Alright, we're going right, fine. Just escape to the right. It's all good. I think yet again I touched down without any landing gear. Having fun. Yeah, let's actually get some repairs. Land it over here. Boom, that's repairs. And I could simply back it out of here. Does he want me to specifically land? Where does he want me to go? Yeah, it says drop off. Oh, needs to go to medical. Okay, we got you, boss. Yeah, you did just survive a crash, didn't you? advanced flight dynamics. You fly them long enough, you get used to them. And if you haven't had the chance to try them, I recommend it. Give you some respect for helicopter pilots. Not saying you didn't respect them before, but some newfound appreciation for the sort of forces they wrestle. Oh, speaking of, yeah, vortex ring state, right as we settled the power over the water. Sometimes another thing I'll do that pisses a few people off is I kind of circle around, find a good spot to land, somewhere that feels right. See, like right here, I'm starting to feel right in over this dock onto that dirt path. Just want to kill my airspeed, start sinking down, squeeze myself in right about here. Alright, so check this out. To really demonstrate how different it is in the advanced flight dynamics, I'll put it in auto hover and set it into more or less a perfect hover, right? So I mean, there's gonna be some motion, but it's more or less perfect above the ground. Now I'm just gonna hit the button to take it back out of auto hover and watch what it does. Slight pitch forward, nosing to the right. Right, that's what you see. That's advanced flight dynamics. A little bit of torque, a little bit of offset. Now I'm going to change it up. Going to take it back out of advanced flight dynamics, put it back in the standard model. I'm out of auto hover right now. Just put it back in. So I'm watching my altitude, using that to gauge my vertical speed. It's about stable. Now I'm going to take it out of auto hover, and it kind of stays there. Nothing happens. That's the difference, right? So I'm going to go fly this mission using these flight dynamics, and it's just way different. Don't even have to touch the controls, I can just let it fly. Bring down the cyclic just a little bit there. That's up. About there's good. And all I have to do is nose back a little bit, down on the cyclic, all the way down on the cyclic. Kill all of our airspeed. pick up these civilians. They should come in from this side. Oh, overshot it. That's where it was. Yeah, you see I just come in from that side because you've got the warehouse and stuff over here. Gives you a nice low entry. Off, just go straight up, full power, nose towards it, pitch forward. Back and hands off, take a sip of my drink. I can go pee if I wanted to. Flying like this makes it easy to check the map as well, make sure we're going the right way. Watch this. I'm gonna actually trim this out. This is full collective and just a little nose forward. I'm gonna trim it. Wait, a little more trim. Oh, I guess you can't trim it, huh? Anyways, what I'll do is I'll just change this. But I'll turn auto trim on. Boom, suddenly everything changes. Okay, this is actually relatively similar. Just had to settle in. I could fly with it auto trim turned on. Be kind of the best of both worlds. Have that natural stability that everyone else is used to. But I still have the aerodynamics that I'm used to. still advanced flight dynamics, but this is with auto trim turned on. I can kinda do the same thing with the coming up, just up on the collective. Alright, but I'm gonna turn auto trim off. Auto trim disabled. Everything else is on. And boom, nose deflection. Time to go fly for real. Alright, hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching.